Hi, I'm Alicia, the middle-aged housewife, and today I want to talk about decluttering for your aging parents or guardians. And the focus on that is when you're going to their home and you just see boxes everywhere, or closets full of stuff, or there's a spare room that's full of stuff, or they've got a storage unit, like in my case with my mother, that's just full of stuff, and they can't even get into the room anymore or the storage unit or whatever to go and look through anything. Um, or sometimes the home has gotten so full of stuff that it becomes unsafe for them. Like if there's a fall or, God forbid, paramedics need to come through the home and they can't get to point A to point B because there's just too much stuff in the way. Decluttering in that fashion. Um, but also because you're in a situation where your parents or guardian, they don't want to let go. They have a tie to every single thing that's in there, almost like a hoarding situation, but not really. I do not have a whole lot of experience with hoarding, so I try not to speak on things that I don't really know about. It's more my area is more the decluttering and going through things and the organizing and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about 5 tips that I've got to approach taking care of decluttering, getting that process started for your aging parents. And I say guardian in that too, because not everybody was raised by their parents, and I don't know what your situation is. And I kind of was trying to figure out what word was proper to use there, and I don't know. That's why I'm putting guardian in there. But if there's a better word to use, please let me know in the comments so that future videos I can do that. Okay, so step one. Step one, you want to approach decluttering with some empathy, some sympathy. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Like I said, everything usually when you're at this stage has a story, has a memory, has some kind of sentimental value, is an heirloom, and it's important to them, but it's probably not important to you. And so you're looking at it as junk. The biggest thing you don't want to do is call it junk, because that right there is going to put up a defense mechanism, and they're not going to want to deal with any of it, because now you're just taking everything that's been a part of them and just saying it's trash, just throw it away. You're throwing away their whole identity, and in a way you are, because if you think about it, if somebody was going through your stuff right now, right, and they thought it was junk and they just start throwing things away because they don't think it's necessary or whatever, how would that make you feel? So you definitely want to approach it with some empathy and see where they're coming from before we even get the process started. Step two, or tip number two. A good place to start when we're looking at everything as a whole is to start attacking the things that no longer work. Because in some cases, you're probably going to be dealing with that. There's probably going to be a processor, food processor that doesn't work and it's been sitting around, heck, even in the cabinet that's just taking up space for the last 15, 20 years. Or you've got maybe an iron that's been broken that's just been sitting around because you might get around to fixing it or whatever, and it's been another 10, 15 years and it's been sitting in the same spot. Um, those are the things you want to start with first. One, because they're not personal items, they're just things, right? And they are considered junk, even if your parent or guardian doesn't think it's junk and they think they can get to it. We kind of need to remind them, hey, it's been X amount of years. There's a better product out there. This doesn't work. And in some cases, there's not even replacement parts for those things anymore. And if there are replacement parts for some of those things, it probably costs the same as the item or more to bother fixing it. So usually in those cases, you want to bring that up because cost is going to be an issue as well. So if they're really going to fight you on it, you want to look it up and go, hey, this is the same price as, getting this replacement part is the same price as the item. Do you want to just get a new one? This doesn't work and you haven't used it in 10 years. More than likely, they're going to say yes, or more than likely, they don't even want a new one and they'll just want to shuck it. So this is why you want to start with the things that don't work first. It just makes it easier in the long run. Also, if you're going around the home, and in some cases, because there's just so much stuff, we tend to forget, just as humans, we tend to forget that we've got something that on the shelf or whatever, and we go and buy another one because we don't see it; it's buried somewhere. So we'll have like duplicates or triplicates or something. Um, You want to check that out as well, because if you've got two of the same thing or three of the same thing, okay, we can probably downsize this to one, given the age of the parent or guardian, um, given the amount of use that it's probably getting or not getting. Let's see if we can downsize the number of things that we have. So if you've got, I'm going to use myself as an example, even though this doesn't really fit. We must have like 40 pairs of scissors in the house. I'm just being honest. Do we need 40 pairs of scissors in the house? No. Now, there are different types of scissors, and that's a whole thing in itself. But we don't need that many. So could I probably go through and like get rid of like 10 scissors and donate them or give them to a craft place or a school? Yes. So this is what I mean. If you've got a whole bunch of something, it might be time to like, whittle that down to a few numbers of whatever that item is. Tip number 3, the maybe pile. Now, I've talked about the maybe pile, and the maybe pile is a good way to declutter because sometimes if you have a more agreeable parent or guardian that you're working with, um, they might want to have them go, maybe I don't want to really get rid of that yet. Let's see, there's like a little bit of a sitting on the fence type of thing. That's where the maybe pile comes in. Um, the thing that you want to be sure of or make sure of with the maybe pile is that it doesn't get too large. You want to designate a spot. If you're working in a room, designate a corner and make it a certain size and go, okay, everything that's a maybe is going in here. Or if you don't have a corner, large boxes like, I don't know, 20 by 15 would be a decent size box, or 20 by 18 would be a decent size box. Get a few of those, and those can be maybe boxes. And then put your foot down and say, okay, anything that's a maybe can go in these boxes or go in this spot. But once we outgrow that, we really are going to have to look at this and then figure out what do we really want or need and what can we get rid of, because now that area or that box is getting way too big and out of hand. Because if we let it, or we let them, that maybe box or that maybe corner is going to become the whole room or many, many, many boxes, which kind of defeats the point of decluttering. So we kind of have to make it feel like it's a choice. Okay, it gives them that option to go, okay, yeah, I've got this. This is available to me, like this maybe pile. I feel safe because I know that I can put that in there and then I can deal with it later. And I don't feel scared that I'm letting something go that I might want later. Um, yeah, so just try to keep that in mind when it comes to the maybe pile. If you do get to the point where the maybe pile has gotten a little bit big and now we need to start attacking it, um, one great way to help make that decision, especially when you're dealing with people who've had backgrounds where there was a lot of survival, um, a lot of having to hold on, because we all have different backgrounds. Not all of us were wealthy growing up. Uh, Letting them know that you can donate it, either to Goodwill, Salvation Army, or even domestic violence shelters, uh, homeless shelters. If they know that the item is going to go somewhere that's useful, they're more likely to let that item go because they know that it's not going to get thrown away. And I think the biggest fear is that they feel like those things are going to get thrown away. Um, Blankets and stuff like that, if you have a whole lot of them, give them a good wash. And usually, you want to check, but usually like assisted living places will take them as well. But yeah, shelters will usually take those things. Just make sure they're clean. Whatever you're donating, just make sure it's clean. But yeah, letting them know that you're going to give it to a place that will willingly take them and be very happy about them helps helps them let go of that item so that we can move on and work through this process. Tip number 4, paperwork. Paperwork was actually the first thing that got me into organization because I had to do it for my mom. So I learned very quick how to make a quick and dirty going through a whole bunch of paperwork. Now, if you're dealing with a whole bunch of stuff that you're having to declutter or whatever, you're going to have all different types of paperwork. You're going to have insurance work, bank statements, receipts, manuals of things that they probably don't even own anymore, stuff like that. So what you want to do is make sure you have a good space on a table or a counter where you can make piles. And the real quick way to do this is to just give everything a glance and then put it into categories. So anything that looks like it might be important, so it's got like account numbers on it, um, anything like that is going to go in one pile. You don't even have to look and see if it's insurance. You don't have to look and see if it's bank statements. You don't have to look at any of that. If it has an account number on it, it goes in one pile. Now, the next thing is going to be like manuals, um, things like that, catalogs, stuff like that. That goes in another pile. And most likely that's going to get thrown away. But for now, we're just going through organizing the paperwork. So you're going to make a pile of that kind of stuff. Then the next pile is going to be like receipts, stuff that we definitely don't need to keep anymore. Um, just maybe it's like a receipt to like the fridge that they bought 30 years ago or something. Well, obviously we don't need to keep it anymore. It wouldn't be valid anyway, but we're going to put it in a pile. So you see where I'm going with that. So we're going to make categories for every type of thing. Try to keep it to like 3 or 4 piles, because otherwise you're like really overthinking it and overanalyzing it. And you're trying to be quick about this right now. So that's what you want to do with paperwork. Anything that looks like it's super important, military paperwork, um, maybe immigration paperwork, uh, anything that's like looks like you really need to put this in a file. That's also going to be in its own category, separate from anything that's the account number category. Um, I would probably put IRS stuff in there too, bankruptcy paperwork, things like that. Even though it may fall into the account category, I'd probably put it in the important, like very important paperwork category, um, just for ease of going through it later. But yeah, definitely do that. And then make sure that they know that it's not getting thrown away until they look at the categories. That's why you want to keep this like 3 or 4 piles and not a whole lot, because then you can go, oh, okay, yeah, this is all manuals and stuff. And like, yeah, okay, I don't need that. Don't need that. All right, let's throw it away. And what that process also does is when they start getting used to, okay, yeah, I don't need this, and throw it away, that kind of makes it easier as you're going down the road to get them to throw away more things. So, and then make sure that they know that, like, the stuff with the account numbers on it's not getting thrown away yet. We're going to go through it individually when we have time. The important paperwork we're not going to throw away. We're going to go through it when we have time. And please, please get a filing system. One, because um, you never know when an emergency is going to hit. You don't know what the weather's going to do. And you may need to pick up and go, and you got to have your documents with you. It's so important to have documents with you, because you're not keeping all this stuff inside your head, and it's going to be that much harder to find your accounts and anything else that you're going to need. So even if it's like an under the bed tote or something, make sure you've got all your super important paperwork when you're done going through it all in a place that is easy to reach and easy to grab and go if you need to. There's been too many instances where, like, you never know when you're going to have to get up and get your stuff. Um, and there's been too many instances where people didn't do that, and then it's been a heck of a process trying to get anything. So just make it easy for yourself. So as you're doing these categories, and then you have time to go through each pile, when you get to all the stuff that's super important, make sure you've got that filed in some way, shape, or form. And finally, tip number 5: linens, bedding, washcloths, old stuff. Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I definitely have a parent who probably still has washcloths and towels from 1970 something. Do we think it's junk? Yeah. Is it threadbare and doesn't need to be there? Yeah. Do they want to get rid of it? No. No, they don't. So what do we do about this kind of stuff? My mom's got a closet, and it's just shoved with old towels and washcloths and stuff. Why do I need to replace it when it's perfectly fine? And it's like, and she comes from a childhood where she had to hold on to things because they were not wealthy at all. They were very, I wouldn't say very poor. It wasn't poverty, but they definitely had to hold on to stuff. Um, so that's where that mentality comes from. So some of you might be dealing with that as well. Uh, what you can do in those instances, instead of just saying, okay, let's just replace everything like that, make sure they're actually being in use, because sometimes in some instances they're holding on to these old linens and cloths and towels and stuff, and it's just shoved in the back of the linen closet if there is a linen closet, or shoved in the back of wherever they're storing those items, and it's not being used, and it's just like the same 5 towels or whatever that really should have left like 20 years ago. So painful process. Take them all out. Let's look at them. Okay. Now, now that everything's out and the things that she hadn't seen or they haven't seen in the last 20 years, let's go, hey, you know what? This, even though it's from like 1972, is in better condition than this that you've been using over and over and over again. How about we bring this to the forefront so that you can use that, and we take this that's seen way better days and either repurpose it as like a cleaning cloth or something, or we throw it out. That way we're not buying new things, because obviously if they're holding on to this stuff, they don't want to replace it with anything new, right? So that gives them the opportunity to use what they already have. They're not buying anything new, and it makes them go, oh yeah, you know what? I do have um, these things that are in better shape. And yeah, when I'm comparing it to this thing, this does look really pretty bad. So yeah, okay, let's repurpose it, because they're probably going to want to repurpose it, right? And it's fine. Let's save the planet. Let's repurpose. We could probably, like, I keep washcloths in my kitchen just to clean the kitchen until they're so threadbare that it's done, because I'm constantly. So, they may want to do that. That's fine. But now it's got a different life. And then the things that they're, the bedding and whatever else is being used instead of still stuck in the corner. Plus, you're also making some space. Because if we're stuffing things into a drawer or a closet or whatever, there's no space, right? So we're just going to give things a little bit of a shuffle, try to repurpose where we can, and then get those things that they don't want to replace and get them used, you know. So is it getting rid of stuff? Yes and no. It's kind of on the fence. It's more of a psychological. Okay, I'm getting more used to moving things around. I'm getting more used to whether or not I should keep something. Um, and that's where we want to go, especially if you have a very large project in front of you that's going to take a couple of months. Because I've been there where it's taken 2-3 months to go through a house. Actually, it took longer than that when I did it last year. So that's part of that process, is you want to like get it in the mind that they have options and they have choices, and not everything's going to get thrown away. Or if we want to, we can donate, because now we see we have these things here. We have duplicates. We've got um, towels that been holding on to for 40-50 years, but these are in better condition, so let me use these and I don't have to buy new ones. It's a whole mental process, and that's really how we need to approach this whole decluttering thing, really, when it comes to our aging parents and guardians, is that we have to look at it from a more psychological standpoint, instead of just let's go in there and throw everything out. When it gets to a point where they pass and you got to go through the stuff, do what you want. Do what you want. But while they're alive and you're working, through this stuff with them, you definitely want to be empathetic. You want to be looking at it through their eyes. Look at it, like I said from the beginning of the video. If somebody was going through your stuff, how would you feel? Do you want them just throwing all your stuff out because they think it's junk? No. So let's look at it from that perspective and know that it's going to take some time. It's not going to take a day. It's not going to take a week. It's going to probably take several months. But once you get that process started in their mind psychologically, it starts to move faster. And that's where we want to go, is to get it to move faster so that we can get through all the things while we still have the energy to do it, because it's draining. It's draining. Get yourself some takeout when you go and do that stuff, because ain't nobody got time to cook when you're doing with that. Just yeah, take care of yourself. All right, so that's all I have for you today. If anything in this video resonated with you, please give it a like and think about subscribing. And I will see you later. Bye.